I see you got a haircut.
I did get a haircut.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
Took me forever to pull the trigger on that one.
How long do you usually wait?
Until I can't stand it anymore. So like
The typical man.
Man, like I've always had this dream of long hair.
Yeah.
I think it would be dope,
Yeah.
but I can never get past the 2.5, 3 month kind of range of like actually growing it out.
Yeah.
Because it just gets wavy and insane. So I just get frustrated and then I go and shave it off. And the lady always looks at me like I'm insane because I'm shaving off a lot of hair.
Yeah.
But
I'm always like, I want to get my hair longer, right? I want to have long hair too. I've always had that dream. And I had long hair when I was really young.
yeah,
Like I had a mullet, obviously. Lots of
Nice.
kids had mullets, right?
as you should.
It's the
As a
most
kid.
hideous rat tail mullet too. Like you look back and it's like there's like a weird mushroom cut thing happening, but then
Yeah.
there's all these little straggly hairs in the back.
Yeah, you got the wispies.
What in the hell? It's like something out of a horror movie.
Yep.
But then I had later in life had grown my hair out longer a couple times, but it was always like mohawk or whatever. I had like black long hair, like gothy kind of look for a while.
Yep.
But as an adult, like for the last 10 years, I seem to struggle whenever my hair gets about as long as it is now,
Yep.
or just a little longer.
Yeah.
It starts behaving poorly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it doesn't really want to do anything right. I have like
I know the pain.
a terrible cow look that develops in the back, and
Yeah.
there's one in the front, and it's just a nightmare to work around. And then you
Yeah.
get a gust of wind or something, and anything you tried to do is now over.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
And-
I know the pain.
And then you're like, okay, I'm gonna be bald again.
Yeah. I'm glad that we have that as a fallback.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because like, and like, you get to go more extreme because you got your head tatted, which I like. Because I think eventually I'd like to go that same direction, so I can go, kind of. I don't know what I would get yet, but that's like a ways down the road for me. I got to get my back done, and then I want to work up the neck and all that jazz.
yeah. I always think that like I know people do whatever they want to do, and I'm not judging, but I always think it's funny when people get like a floating neck or throat tattoo, and it's not connected or anchored to anything.
Yeah.
It's like, here I am. I have nothing on my chest. I have nothing on my arms even, and
Yeah.
now I have like this sticker on my neck, and it's just like, hi, hello, I'm here.
Yeah.
It's just like a statement. It's like, you don't want to marry that to anything else. Like,
Yeah, I will say I'm from that like older school of like there's a progression. Like
yeah.
I felt weird starting my legs before I finished my arms.
Mm,
Like if I'm honest, because like I don't know, I've always felt it's like, okay, you do sleeves, you do legs, you do back, you do chest, or vice versa or whatever. Once you've kind of gotten through your torso, you work your way up, and you know what I mean. Like and even to get onto my hands, I feel like I'm gonna wait a little bit later, and I don't know what put that in my mind, but
no, I think that there should be, I think that's a right way to think, because I think there should be a build up in tolerance of what people think, and
Sure.
and sure, you don't get as much, like we've talked about this before, you don't get as much animosity towards tattoos as we used to, but
Yeah.
even as like a personal buffer, like for you looking at yourself in the mirror, I think that if you gradually do it, it won't punch you in the face as much as if you wake up and tattoo a tongue on your forehead or something, right?
Yeah.
And now you're like, oh God, what have I done? Like I knew a guy who got a random forehead tattoo,
Oh man.
but he didn't have a whole lot else, and he didn't anticipate not only the way the world would react to him, but the way he would react to it.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot, even just looking at it. And I don't know if it went the way he wanted it to either. Like it was like, it wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't like
Yeah.
how he
Wasn't
expected
exactly
it would
there.
look.
Yeah.
Like it might have even been the tattoo he wanted, but it didn't do the effect that he thought it would on his head,
Right.
like on his face. Like it was like he imagined it would make him more handsome or something. I guess, and what he got was he had like this weird effect where his hairline was almost magnified because he had a bit
Really?
of a widow's peak thing.
Yeah.
So now he's got this straight.
Oh yeah,
tattoo
yeah.
here.
So you see the contrast between the peak and the straight line.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so now this guy has not had hair since. Like he just he's not
Yeah.
bald, but he can't
Shaves
wear
it.
hair because he feels it just makes him look like he has a widow's peak even more.
Hmm.
So it's funny how tattoos can play up certain parts of our, not just our body, but like any part of like our face, and
Yeah.
like it's got to work with the facial structure and stuff.
Well, I mean, like what we were talking about, the flow of the body doesn't stop at the face.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
Like that you have a structure to your face. And you can see artists that complement the face structure in the way that they approach their facial tattoos. And
Yeah.
it's it takes a lot more than what people think. You can't just throw stamps on things and expect them to look cohesive to the body.
Right.
And I mean, I think, but at the same time, I mean, you can do that. We're seeing it more and
Yeah,
more.
we are seeing
You know
it,
what I
yeah.
mean? Like it seems to be like almost to fly in the face of the body structure. It's like just put something somewhere to go against the
There's-
grain almost.
There's a lot of that, and then there's also styles that have come out that are purposely abstract and,
Yeah.
and bizarre, like
Yep.
for the intention of being that look.
Mhm.
And then I feel like once you do that enough times, it starts to look formulaic too. Like
Fair.
it's like,
Yeah.
okay, now it's this style.
Yep.
And that's where then it's like we have to keep going farther, more abstract, right?
Yeah.
Like there's this style that's done, it borders black work, where it's just like the crazy black lines everywhere, right? Like the chaotic, like
Yep.
it looks like someone just kind of all over
yeah.
the place. But it's not actually that. Now, it may have started that way, but now it's a formula.
Yeah.
Right now, you know how those tattoos are done.
Yes.
You do them this way, and if
Yeah.
you don't do them that way, it's like, oh, that was done poorly. That
Yeah, it
wasn't-
won't look right.
It's like it was originally supposed to look like it was done savagely and without
Yeah.
a method, but now it's like it has to have that method, or else
Yeah.
it's not done right. It's weird how that happens.
Well, that's like with anything that you can replicate, right?
yeah,
Like any form of genuine art that becomes replication, you have to study everything about it, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, it's no longer the spark, it's the aftermath of the spark, right?
yeah,
I was listening to a podcast where they're talking about Banksy, and it's a similar thing with him. Like, he had this thing where it was this rebellious form of anonymous style art, and
Yeah.
now he is a style of art.
yeah,
It's like you do this spray paint thing or your political approach to something that's street art blended with nature, or however you want to look at it. But it's been deconstructed enough that it's like he is his own style, and he is a pop culture style now.
yeah.
Whereas he was antithetical before that. Like he was against the grain, and now all of a sudden it's like
I always
everybody wants a
wonder
Banksy T-shirt or whatever.
If the person that happens to, that they
Hate
become,
it?
if they hate it, if they
I
not
would
only
assume
hate
so.
it, but they have like a resentment for it, because it's like, no, you idiots, no, this wasn't the point. The point was I was going against this.
Well, I mean, like, but part of me wonders, like, how much of it is that, and how much of it is maybe you're trying to make something speak to people, and then you've achieved it,
Yeah.
but not in a way that you thought.
Well, it goes over too well.
Yeah,
Like,
like
but-
Nirvana to me was kind of that.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
I know Kurt Cobain was an amazing songwriter and he wrote good hits and things like that, but like I feel like he made a huge impact, but I don't know if it was exactly what he was hoping.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I
it,
mean?
It was almost taken in a way that he probably didn't want it to be taken.
Well, it was like anything that's rebellious, it can't become the main.
Yeah, because then you're almost playing for the team you wanted to play against,
Yeah.
right? Like you want to be the popular anti-hero.
Yeah.
But then that's really easy to become the hero instead, right?
Yeah.
And then because what happens is companies realize there's money in you, and then
Man,
they
fair.
go, whatever your message is, sure,
Yeah.
just do it for us.
Sell
though."
this thing while you're
yeah,
doing it.
exactly. Just
Yeah.
do that while you're wearing our shirt,
Yeah.
right? And then when they're there with that big bag of money and the
Oh,
dollar
that
sign
big bag of
glasses,
money, damn it.
it's like
Every time.
yeah, it's always that big bag of money. And, like, it's always such a corrupting influence, you know?
Well, I mean, I get it, and
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that I would be immune to that. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
I wouldn't. I
show
would
me a
have
bag
to
of money
be
big enough. You know?
a good enough size.
Yeah.
Like I said the other week, I'm not going to model your shirt for $10.
No.
If you
no.
tell me you'll pay me a couple $100 for a picture, yeah, maybe we're talking now.
Yeah.
But that's the number now. It
Yeah.
used to be lower in my mind because it was like I didn't see quite the scope of things.
Yeah.
Not just for me personally, but what you can do if you don't sell out too early.
Yeah.
Because I feel like people don't like to see that.
No.
Like they don't. It's almost something core to us where we don't want to feel like we're being tricked or misled by the people we like.
Yeah.
Like, you're only talking to me because you want to sell me this. I see
Yeah.
how it is.
But at the same time, we don't see it all the time.
No.
You know what I mean? Like the one of the apps that I never really understood was the Cameo one. Cameo, where you can pay a celebrity or somebody to send a message to somebody.
Yeah.
Right? And that to me was one of those, like, I know a majority of them say that they're donating to charities and things like that, but it was one of those things where it was like, oh, you can really put monetary value on something that they don't want to do this.
Yeah.
There's not a person out there that's like, yeah, I would love to for free send Jimmy a message about his birthday that I do not know.
Yeah.
Who does not
Jimmy?
live here.
Why would I
that
want
will
to talk?
never meet.
Yeah.
And I would love to do that for free. So for me, it's one of those, like, that app and what you can get from the celebrities on that app and like the manipulative things that people have done through those. It was like, oh, you can easily see how small that bag of money needs to be.
Yeah.
It's a lot smaller than I thought it would be.
Yeah, and I've seen it. I see it all the time. I know people all the time who are excited to do, oh, they're going to pay me $5. Oh,
Yeah.
they're going to give me a promo code, and if someone buys a shirt, then I get 10%. 10% of what? $25?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you making here? And how hard are you working?
Is it net? Is it gross?
It's ridiculous.
Who knows what you're making?
Like, some of these companies all message me, and they're like, oh, we'll give you a promo code, and you just wear these shirts, and it scales with how hard you work. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't though.
No,
because here's what happens. Here's a million shots of me wearing this kind of lame T-shirt that people don't want that much, and that's why you're having me try and sell it for you. And now I'm trashing my reputation with this thing, and maybe I'll get you one sale, and that'll earn me what? $2 maybe?
Well, it's a pyramid scheme without the pyramid, right?
Yeah.
It's only 2 tiers to that pyramid. It's like, these guys make this shirt, and you struggle to try and make a small amount of money while they make the majority of the money.
But now I've been on both ends of this because I have T-shirts that I sell to, and there's almost no money in it. Mm-hmm. Unless you're doing like
you have to do massive volume.
Yeah, so I get why they're not willing to give that much.
Yeah, of course.
But at the same time, it's like, this is a nothing deal.
Yeah.
You have nothing to give me, and I can't sell this crap.
Yeah.
So
let's just call it where it is.
Why am I making this? Why is this interaction happening? Like, you do this with 20 different guys, and maybe one of them can sell it really well. That's what you're hoping, and maybe he'll be super motivated.
Yeah.
But
I wonder if it's like, I mean, obviously with the influencer kind of market and like podcasting and things like that, I feel like the real financial structure or like the real kind of advertising interaction with them hasn't really been figured out yet.
No, God, no. It's like shady backroom dealings.
It seems like.
And then your friend ripping you off behind your back. Like you'll have like I've seen it where you'll know certain people and they'll go to a company that you're working with and see how much are these guys paying such and such, and then they'll try and undercut and do it for cheap. But it's like, we're working for pennies here. Why bother? And I don't bother. I opt out of this stuff. But like, having been in this for a couple years now, you just can't not meet other people that do the same thing.
Yeah, of course.
Like, it's like
in
colleagues almost, right?
Yep.
Like, it's not to the same degree as going to work and you'll get a coworker, but it's like, yeah, I know this guy because we've worked with similar companies and we comment on each other's crap and stuff for a bump. Like, there's like this weird back scratch mechanic where you comment
you're all
on
doing
mine.
the same thing, you know, like we know that it helps, and it's kind of like a tip of the cap thing.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly like that.
Yeah, that's one of those things that, like, with any type of industry that has a lot of information that is not presented to the public, as in most people in their Instagram or whatever it is that they're doing, they're presenting a facade, right? Like, their real life is usually not what's on show. It's some sort of skewed version to show a certain direction that they want to.
Yeah, this is a thought I had just yesterday. It was like, welcome to Instagram, a world where you try and convince fake people you probably don't like that much to give you a double tap, which takes almost no time,
Yeah.
and maybe leave you some kind of a comment so that this computer will think that you're interesting enough to show to more assholes you don't like, so that hopefully they'll follow and like you too,
Yeah.
because that's good. That's
Yeah.
what we want, right?
Increase is always
It's-
better, I guess.
It's just like this weird fake dance that happens where
Yep.
it's like, I don't like this guy, but he liked my comment or he liked my post. I don't know who you are, but you comment. Like, I'll get all the time, my bro, like, and then a fire emoji, and I'm like, you're not, we're not like, I get that what bro is like saying dude or man or whatever, but like, I have so many random comments these days where I've explained it before to people, like young influencers, I always call them. Sometimes they're older than me,
Yep.
but young into it, where they're not sure about insights, they're not sure about how to grow a page, stuff like this. And I've been a coach to a lot of these guys, and they'll always be like talking to me about their engagement, and I'm like, well, here's how it works. When your small page, like 500,000, 5,000 even, there's a good chance you know everyone in some kind of way.
Yep.
And it's like you're talking to family or friends or
Yeah.
whatever. But as your page gets bigger, it's like now you're in a high school and maybe you've seen that person before, but you don't know them at all,
Yeah.
right?
Hey,
It's just, hey, yeah.
guy.
But then as you get even bigger than that, now you're talking to a stadium, and
Yeah.
there's no way you've ever seen or heard from anyone that, like all of these people who are following you.
Yeah.
So like maybe even the guy who said my bro with the fire emoji, I may have had a few interactions with this guy at some point. I can't honestly tell you because
How could you?
there's so many interactions with, and it sounds narcissistic or egotistical or something, but it's almost impossible for me to remember like a track record anymore.
Of course.
Where like there's just thousands of inboxes and thousands of comments, and it's just like I can't tell you who almost any of them are anymore.
Yeah.
And sometimes I miss when it was a smaller page and the only people you interacted with were like if you commented, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like it's someone you know.
Yep.
And now it's just like I got comments coming from people that maybe for the first time ever, maybe they've been following me for 3 years.
Yeah.
Like it's that far back where who knows how long this person's been following me, and I only follow a couple hundred people,
Yep.
you know? So when I engage with those people, I do know them.
Yeah.
So I don't have the same thing the other way around.
Well, it's almost like you'd need, like, there's a couple of things that I never really understood, and this could just be my old man brain, but in terms of the social media platforms, like I understand that that it's the idea of being, you're kind of taken into the sphere of this person's life, but when you're dealing with someone that has vast amounts of followers, you're kind of just an observer for the most part. I think that's one of the reasons also that people feel so bold that they can comment as if this person would never, like
They're
the
not
odds
in-
that they're never going to see
Yeah.
this. But there's a few things that I find confusing about that, because like social media, the ability to engage and respond and things like that, but then we also, in and amongst those, we have these tiers of, I'd say anyone from 10,000 up, it must be hard. Like you don't know a lot of the people that follow you, right? I would assume.
I think it started getting hard for me around that point, but
Because it just seems like too hard to keep track of.
it's been too hard for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, for yours, it's a different story.
It's been
It's been
and
crazy.
turnover is insane too.
Yeah.
Like people don't understand that. They think that number, whatever it is, if you have, we'll say 50,000 followers, because 50,000 is enough to where you start getting this problem. When you have 50,000 followers, those aren't the same 50,000 followers 1 month to the next, because what happens is you have breakage.
Yeah.
Like, and depending on the type of content you are, probably I get more of it because I have such a polarizing nature. Like, my disgust and love factors are both like top tier. Like, and what I mean to say about that is like I am so out there. Like, I do such wacky things too sometimes, like
Yeah.
the spike in my nose and stuff.
Yeah.
And I do that partially to disgust people because
Garner a reaction.
if you don't like my content, that's a good way to get rid of you. right?
Oh, I see.
It's
Yep.
almost like I'm paring down.
You're
the
separating the wheat
fat.
from the chaff.
And so my number ends up being, what we have in the Instagram influencer community is actual following size.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that means is, if you have 100,000 followers, there's no way that all of those people are active daily,
Right.
So you could get to 100,000 and have 80,000 dead weight, where they're
Right.
not even logging in most of the time. They don't care. They're just doing like whatever. Fair enough. It takes a long time to get to 100,000. So
Yeah.
there's every chance that by the time you get to that point, you've had so many years of dead weight build up, right?
Right.
But with me, these
You have
people,
high turnover.
I have high turnover. So my active following is something like 84,000 or something.
Yep.
So the
That's
engagement
crazy.
ends up being stronger because the people you have following you are mostly active and mostly on.
Yep.
And the people who have seen you and don't like you are fucking off already, right?
Mm.
They're like, fuck this guy. Why is
Yeah,
he doing
yeah.
that? It's disgusting. I'll get a lot of, well, that's a no for me, dog. I'm out of here. And
Yeah.
I'm like, have a good day. Like,
Yeah.
see you later. Like, and you're helping me.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
like, I've always said, if I lose 100 people, that's a good day at the office. Because now I don't really care if I build much more. People are coming anyway.
Yeah.
Like, they're coming in anyway. So I've always looked at people who don't really like you as a drag. Like, because I honestly have people following me who do not like me. Like, they hate me.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I know. And I've commented on this before, because I had a guy this morning. He's like, he commented on a post overnight. I woke up and I had a poo emoji face from a guy, and he said, "You think you're beautiful, don't you?" And I imagine him talking in a foreign accent, because it was badly written, right?
Yep.
And the poo emoji there, and I'm like, I don't know what your game is, but if you don't like me, why are you following me, right?
Well, but part of me thinks, like, is there something that they're like, this is like their repression of something about the idea that they do like
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
body modification does intrigue them, or whatever the fact is, and this is their rebellion against
I
it.
always think it's like the kid that likes the girl and
Yeah, and he
school
punches her in the
electro-
arm or
right?
something
it's
like that,
ow,
and it's like,
yeah.
like, or that, like, that's kind of classic child behavior. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
push against the thing that you're afraid of approaching.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because, like, maybe he's too scared to get tattoos,
Yeah.
and your confidence in your tattooing enrages him.
Well, it's funny, when we were talking earlier, you said they don't expect to ever get a response from this person. So I'll have it where people will comment on my posts sometimes, and they're talking about me like I'm like
Not there?
like almost more like a concept.
Yep.
Like, this guy he's a strange character, because he seems to not care about what everyone thinks, but he's still seeking approval. Like, it's like they're studying a math or like a science problem or something.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm right here.
But this
There's
is
someone
the,
here.
This is like the thing that I get so confused about, because, like, they don't think you're there.
Right.
That's the, like, if it's anyone else, like, if it's one of their best friends and they do the same thing to their feed where they're talking about Judy right in front of Judy, then all of a sudden it's like, well, what? But that didn't get taken away here.
Yeah.
And then that leads me to believe that they view the number as...
This guy's no longer on my level or
well,
human.
no,
or...
that all of a sudden it's a company or something.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's the type of thing that you would do to a company.
Yeah.
Like, to some sort of large-scale entity that is faceless almost.
Mm-hmm.
But yours specifically has a face.
Yeah.
They're commenting on, but it's like they're treating you as though they're like your Wendy's or something.
Yeah.
And it's like that idea confuses me, because it's just like, this is just yours, but obviously the number puts something in their head that you must not be a real person behind it. You must have people handling it for you
I have
in
a
some way,
handler.
shape, or form.
Yeah.
Like, there must be some form of industry in behind this thing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get confused, because I think they do a terrible job of showcasing how Instagram works in those levels and how much effort gets put in by individuals.
Yeah.
That it just makes it seem mysterious.
Yeah.
Because if they're going to follow Beyonce and Beyonce does the same thing, well, Beyonce has a lot of followers and she doesn't handle her own Instagram, and therefore it's like
Yeah, this is the difference. Because we've never had it before where celebrity is not necessarily the only way to get a following,
Yeah.
right? You can be a line cook for 17 years and end up being semi-known, right?
Yep.
Because I don't think... Because, like, I have people come up to me and they're like, so you're, like, famous, right? And I'm like, it's not really that way. Like,
Yeah.
there's a handful of people in a handful of cities around different parts of the world who know who I am. So it's not like you would have one big area where they all know who I am.
Yeah.
Like, this is the difference. It's like a Beyonce is known everywhere.
Yeah.
A guy with 100,000 following on Instagram, well, that's one person in every town around the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's so it doesn't actually add up to much.
Well, it does though.
But it's
it
like,
might not seem like the most significance in your sphere here.
yeah.
Because the thing that becomes different about that is because like I don't know, there's something about being known in like a social consciousness thing rather than locationally.
Yeah.
Because like within the sphere that you're talking about in terms of that segment, you would be known.
Well, apparently Brazil, I have a huge following in Brazil. I've been told this by several people from Brazil.
Body
that
modification in general is huge in Brazil.
I don't know what the hell it is, but like I've had, especially the last few months, I've had an outcrying of support from people in Brazil. And they see it in a different way than some other people do. Like they're like, you don't hold on to anything. Like you have no attachment. It's amazing. Like they look at me like and I'm not saying everyone in Brazil, but like the people I've heard from they're like talking to me like I'm from a higher plane or something because I've gotten rid of everything.
Dude, the amount of agitation that happens around you getting rid of your tattoos or blacking over your tattoos is astounding to me. And I think it does trigger that same idea that most people would face of like you're getting rid of your most cherished possessions, basically, in the way people view it. Because again, I think people have different attachments to different levels of tattooing, and I think the most common one, if you have one or two, is either like memorial or experiential.
Yeah.
So it's like we went to Mexico and we got this done, or I'm memorializing XYZ.
Yeah.
So they view it as like, how could you get rid of this super important thing? And there is like a zenness that you bring to it, because for you it's already a decided thing when you go into it. It's not like you've done the process of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm already home.
Yeah, you've already done the commitment to it. You know what the project is, and it's going to be a lot less difficult for you because you've already done this thing. But for a lot of people, I think that would challenge them in many ways. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know. I get it from a level, but I think that life has prepared me for letting go in a great sense. Like, it's been not just daily life. It's been pivotal moments of my life where you just didn't have a choice. Like, it's over now.
Yeah.
That's gone, and you're moving on. If you don't like that, you can die instead. Like, those are your options.
Yeah.
There are no other options.
You either move forward or you don't.
You either move forward or you don't. And I'm sure lots of people have this a few times. But I had it over and over again.
Yeah.
And I almost, like, on a subconscious level, I think I was finding people and places for that to happen to me.
Right.
Because I became kind of attached to rebuilding.
Yeah.
Because, like, I've reverse engineered myself. I don't know. I can't take myself out of it completely. Like, we always have our bias on what happened.
Yeah.
But, like, when I look back over my life, it's been a series of loving people who are unavailable and committing to things that will let you down.
Yep.
Right? And just putting all your eggs into things that you probably knew weren't going to work.
Yep.
And then when they don't work, it's back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Right? So that series of events has uniquely prepared me for this, where I don't feel bothered in any way to get rid of anything that I have. Like, even if we were blacking out the eye, I wouldn't really care.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I say to people, probably keep it, but like, it's not for the reasons that that they would think, where it's
No.
like, oh, you must just love it so much. I'm just like, it's more like, do I really want a blank black body?
Torso, yeah.
Right? Like I don't know if that's what I want, but I wouldn't not do it just because I like it so much or I love it so much, because
of
I could
course.
just be done with it today. Like,
Yeah.
man, I pulled the trigger this morning. Hey, Rick,
Yeah.
change of plans.
Hour and a half later.
The eye's gone,
Yeah.
right? And then shock everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I can't believe you did. Like, how could you do that? And then it would almost be like sacrilege, because people have been attached to the idea that certain things will stay.
Yep.
Right? Even when we did that video, like we did like 3 clips where Rick was working on my chest. And that first clip got so much interaction because people were like, what are you gonna leave? Where does it end?
Yeah.
Like, where is it gonna end? Are you gonna be full blackface tomorrow? Like, all kinds of crazy comments. And that's exactly what I knew would happen when you started doing the video.
Yeah.
The minute that showed, and they knew Wednesdays, because Wednesdays every week, and it was Rick working on my chest with black ink.
Yeah. So, that's where, as I was filming it, I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's going to be like, oh, shit, he's getting rid of everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's people that you wouldn't normally hear from, too. Like, it's like the guys that I've never seen comment or coming out of the woodworks, like, when are you going to stop? When's it going to be enough? Like, it's like, I don't know. What does it matter to you?
Yeah.
Because, like, people, like you said, they look at it like a company. Like, I'm Wendy's.
Yeah.
I'm actually just a guy that cooks eggs for a living. Like, that's what I've been doing forever.
Yeah.
And I posted pictures of my progress.
Yeah.
And at first, they were terrible pictures, too. Like, now I've got a real standard with it where
Yeah.
I'm racking my brain sometimes trying to come up with good captions and
Yep.
and edits.
put effort
and,
in.
You know, but it started out just, here's a progress picture. Here's a progress picture. Here's a close-up of my rather large nose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, here's an ear picture. Like, that's what it started on. Here's a picture of my spawn arm. And people slowly pack on. And then it becomes a huge production after a while. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's a headache to deal with this crap sometimes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not all bad, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's gotten me, like, we wouldn't be doing this podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's good and bad, but people do think that it's like a business, like you said. Like, I'm Wendy's Burgers or something, and
Well, a lot of people just have a hard time understanding what the number equates to.
but like if you had a buddy named Joe and he was doing the same thing, but he wasn't on social media, like, who would care that he was getting rid of an eye on his stomach?
No one.
It's like
other than those in his immediate circle.
Right. It's like my piece, for better or worse, is in a public museum or something.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost like it's in a modern art museum or something where it's been on display, and now if you change something, you have to okay it with all these different people. Mm-hmm. It's like it's
Well,
not
yeah, I
even
mean-
my body on its own to that.
You've widened your circle. Like this is where I get again, I get kind of confused, and it could be my old man brain thing, but like when you're bringing people into your experiences
Yeah.
and life and things like that, like usually if you're in person and you have a couple of people around you and you're like, hey, I'm doing this, and then someone goes, hey man, cool, or that's weird, you have this small sphere. And then as we've branched off into this like digital version of it where people can experience your sphere by just deciding to, because like you're public, right? Like you're a public figure technically. That all of a sudden it's like you get to view it as though you're someone close to you, but we still have this mental hang up as though, like, since they don't know you, they interact with you as a public figure, as some sort of entity, rather than a human being. And like, I mean, part of me would be like, okay, this podcast thing, I think would be beneficial for a lot of people to be able to to be able to experience you in a different way than just a photo or something like that.
Yeah.
But it probably will also demystify you to a lot of people.
Which is perfectly fine, because part of what I've thought about what we're doing with social media these days, it's like new entrepreneurship, where almost anyone, if you can traverse the landscape, which is a trick, because it's hard to grow.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they're making it harder every day.
Yeah, they're actively fighting against people getting
Yeah, they
more.
do not want regular people like you and I to be able to attain status
without paying for it.
without paying for it.
Yeah.
So if you can learn to navigate that, and as I said, it's not as easy as you might think. It's not just posting pretty pictures. You can try it and it won't work.
Yep.
If you can do that, you can gain a level of power. Like there's a chance that if I did this from the time I was 20 to the time I'm now, the same way I am now, I might be a worldwide icon.
Yeah, probably.
Just through doing this.
Yep.
What I've been doing, cooking and doing social media.
Especially if you had aggressively gone after it when the algorithm was easier to manipulate, right?
Yeah, now they've really tightened it up.
Because you see that with a lot of people where it's like they've gotten to a place of following and have almost no effort into it, which is really weird to me. But there was a point in time where if you were on Instagram at the right time and you did the right thing.
Well, there's chronological feed back then where you would see every post in the order it was posted. And that's when Facebook stepped in and bought everything up and said,
they were like, no, let's make some money.
We need relevant posts only.
Yeah.
Like if this post isn't getting a lot of engagement, no one's going to see it. So basically, if you post something and the first 10 people who see it don't like it, then it's only going to be shown to 3 the next 10 minutes. And then those guys don't like it, that's it. Like it's pretty well done at that point.
It's that, which it like, so there's part of me that hates that. And then there's part of me that's like, if you pay attention and you use it as information to get better, man, that's like the best, like, because like analytic feedback is so cold and so like brash where it's just like, oh, nope, nobody liked it. See you later.
But at the same time, it's puts a lot of pressure on people. Not necessarily me, because I don't really care that much if I trend every day.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to grow, and you got to be able to get out there and create fire every day. It's got to be an amazing post every time.
Yeah.
Then you're going to be working nonstop to try and do that.
Yeah. And it should be almost impossible. Like they've set it up so that even if you work your hardest at it, it shouldn't be as beneficial for you as if you were to pay them to push it first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That which is, I mean, part of me thought that like social media was supposed to. I understand that everything needs to get monetized to a certain degree, but I kind of liked the idea that social media was dictated by social, like that was just people, and people would dictate what was relevant or non-relevant just simply because it was going to happen. Like if you did something good, people are going to see it and they're going to like it or not like it, rather than taking it away from people's eyes first.
Yeah, well, you don't want to see this. We already know you don't want to see. This guy's got nothing to say.
It's like let the public decide that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like I've always been very anti-celebrity, which is why I do not indulge my Instagram following much.
Yeah.
Because I've always been irritated when people are super excited about something a celebrity does or something. They're like, oh my God, did you see what so-and-so? It's like, yeah, who cares? They're just a person like you or I.
Yeah.
Like there's
nothing
nothing.
More people know their name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like, so I've always been really, I also have a bit of a nihilistic tinge to me too. So I don't really think that any of it matters that much. Who is this person? Like what? Okay, sure, they have a new dog. Like who cares?
I mean, I care
so
more
does
about
fill
the dog.
up the road for God's sake.
The dog is dope.
Well, yeah, but like I've always thought it's dangerous that we do this. We put these people up on pedestals, and then it's like it's bad for them because now they can't live up to it. There's no way you could ever meet this person. They could live up to whatever you thought of them.
Yeah.
Like if you were thinking, because I have people who were like, my idol, like stuff like that. I'm like, your idol. Like I'm a guy who gets up and cooks at a restaurant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's nothing really that special about any of this.
Well, but a lot of people don't think that way.
I know.
A lot of people, which like, so deification in general, I don't like.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'm not a fan of it. I think it's terrifying and horrible things happen when that happens.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that deify, that really believe that there are people that are worth deifying.
Yeah.
That genuinely believe it. And that's in every area. That's not in just specifically to religions and things like that. But there are genuinely people that think that Taylor Swift is better than anyone else.
And that's ridiculous.
Because Taylor Swift, if you ask Taylor Swift, she's just like, but I'm just a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I write dope songs, but I'm just a human being. I
But
couldn't
do you
possibly
think,
be that.
But there's people who say that and don't mean it too. Where they're like, they buy their own hype, but they know that it's the wrong thing to say.
It's the imposter syndrome thing.
Well, yeah, where it's like you start to believe I am as good as they think, but I can't say that, or else people will think I'm full of myself.
Well, that's like narcissist, sociopath, that kind of thing. Which
Yeah.
like, and those people, I think are what you get your cult leaders out of.
Oh, for sure.
Because like they realize that there's a certain segment of the population that's going to do this, so I'm going to present myself as this thing that they should do this to, and then all of a sudden I get to be a deity.
I've said this to my wife before, like, because I've watched a lot of cult stuff, and I'm always like, if I were a little less empathetic and a little more sociopath,
Yeah.
I would make a great cult leader because I can be really persuasive.
Yeah.
I can be really charismatic, and I have my own thing that people seem to gravitate to.
Yeah.
And I always have. Like,
Yeah.
it hasn't always been the same thing either. It's been multiple things.
Yeah, yeah.
It's developed over years, and it's always been something really crazy, but people have always gone, yeah, I like what he's doing. Like, it's always been like I don't know, like enviable or something, like the charisma that I seem to do it with. Like, people always be like, I wish I had that confidence. It's like,
Yeah, I think it would be a confidence thing.
right.
And that's part of the, like, I think you've experienced a significant amount of upheaval and trauma in your life that I feel like you've dealt with bad situations enough that regular situations are like, oh, okay.
oh, God.
You know what I
I
mean?
was thinking about this yesterday at work, like any small thing that goes wrong. And it's like when people say work makes them angry, I'm like, no, work doesn't make you angry. You got up this morning waiting to be angry, and now you're at work,
Yeah.
and something happened.
Yeah.
Right? You were going to be angry because you're angry right now in life.
Yeah.
You're angry at where you are in life, and now anything's a trigger for that.
Yeah.
And you're blaming it on something that's in your life every day.
Yeah.
Like, I often say about my job, it's been the best and worst thing in my whole life because on the one hand, it's been limiting because I've made a lot of money there, and it's hard to compare that to anything else I would go and do.
Yep.
So it ends up being a bit of a money trap,
Yep.
right? And it's hard work, and it's stressful, and you're working around people that are at 9 all the time.
Yep.
Like 9 is the starting point, and they
Yep.
go up to 20 from there.
Yeah.
Like they're never lower than that. Like it's just high stress, high stress, high stress. And like I hate being around people like that.
Yeah.
But it's made me better at being in those situations because I'm so level-headed when
Yeah.
I am.
Yep.
Like there's people snapping all around you, and you just stay calm, get through it, because what day has ever taken long to get through, right? Like,
No.
how many of these are we going to have this week?
Yeah.
And I always wonder how people don't realize this at some point. Like,
Well, I mean,
how is it so easy to get invested in that moment of suffering?
well, I think it's like maybe our measuring tool, like if we haven't had as many close experiences with significant incidents, it makes it harder to measure. Like if you were to take it to the level of pain in tattooing, and you were to say, okay, if you've got this as relation to this, then you'll understand why the arm is easy. But for someone who has never experienced the arm, they might think it's the worst thing in the world, right? Whereas, like, if you have something else to measure it to and give you perspective, or if you've just even taken the time to have perspective, you know, I think we don't take a lot of time to look back and like analyze, and you know what I mean? Because then all of a sudden it's like whatever you're in is the most, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Because middle ground doesn't seem to appeal.
No, God,
You know what
no.
I mean? Like the
There's no
mediocre
cachet.
feeling in general doesn't seem to appeal to people. Like if you just have like a good day, that's like it's not valued.
It's funny because almost everything in my life is very mediocre. I don't have... So I'll have days where the day is this, and then the next day is this. But I'm always here for the most part.
Yeah.
and I don't know when that started happening, but it's getting worse.
Yeah.
Like I'm almost always floating around the middle ground, and it takes almost a tremendous amount to get me either up or down. And it's as much a strength as it is a weakness.
Sure. Yeah.
Like we talked about one time, I was telling the story about my wedding night, and even on my wedding night, I was giving because getting married for me was a complicated matter because I was engaged 4 times, and I had really bad relationships most of the time for all kinds of reasons. There's whole stories about that, but meeting Sarah and marrying Sarah and her being a really good fit for me and having a really strong family and kind of being a credible human being was a big step up for me.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was batting out of my weight class because I was always going for people I thought were, lower or like, because I always felt like I couldn't do better. So I would always find people on my level where I felt like I was down here, so I'll find people down here. So
Gotcha.
I seen Sarah as way up here, but I went for it, right? And so I gave a wedding speech that was a little bit meta. Like I felt like it was no one there would get it, but it was for me and for Sarah, but mostly for me. Like it's weird because it was like I knew that night was going to be the best night of my life because in some way it was like if I were writing a movie, this would have been the climax.
Credits roll.
Like credits are going to roll after this, and they lived happily ever after. Well, they say that because what happens after that isn't as interesting, right? I made goddamn sure it was, but because it was right after that I started the blackout journey, which I think there's some psychology to it, to be quite honest. But anyway, I was giving the speech, and it was the longest speech, and it was really heartfelt, and I was pretty proud of it. But I was giving the speech, and I had this overwhelming feeling that this is the best night of your life, and it's going to be over in no time, right? This moment is already behind you, and now it's a memory. And that was before I was even done the speech, and that was like an echo for my honeymoon too. It was an echo. This is already behind you. This is already behind you, and so that happens in good and bad situations where I just cannot engage in it. And I used to not really understand when I would get into stressful moments at work, like long rushes or whatever, I would kind of float away from the situation. And I'm still working, but I'm physically kind of not there. Like mentally, I'm checked out or something. But everything is going according to plan. And I used to be like, what is happening here? But now it's almost harnessable because I've gotten so used to dissociating like that I can almost activate that on a dime. And I don't know that it's healthy, but it's certainly helped me.
I don't know that it's not healthy. I mean, it doesn't work great for trying to remember a situation. But I always thought of those moments as like, if you're talking about the same thing that I'm talking about, which is that kind of autopilot-y flow state. I think that's like a mental massage almost. Like you're just giving your brain relaxation almost.
There were moments in my life that were overdrive. Like they're too much to process. Like there's one moment in particular. I'll get into it. I won't tell the whole backstory today because that could easily be a whole episode. But my second fiance and I had a really, really crazy relationship. Like it was the way it started and the way it ended were awful. And we revisited that relationship later in life. Like I ended up being with her a second time. But the first time, we would argue a lot, like about all kinds of things. But it's so passionate. Like, you would have great sex and you would have terrible fights, right? And a lot of arguing and a lot of making up.
Yeah, the extremes.
It's just like crazy extremes and totally alienating each other from our family and friends.
Yeah.
Like I basically had my whole world wrapped up in this woman, and I didn't care about anything else that was going on. I barely cared about, like, I still see my son, but at that time, when his mother was alive, I was weekend dad.
Yeah.
And it was really on the back burner for me. And I'm not proud of that.
Yeah, of course.
Right? But there was a lot that made that happen.
Yeah.
As I said, that's a story for another day. But anyway, her and I, our arguing was ramping up. And she and I would just go. And eventually she started getting a little bit physical with me. And I was always worried, like, am I ever going to swing back if she keeps doing this?
Yeah.
So there was one time we were arguing, and I'm an ass when I argue. I'm very, very forceful, and I push and I shove, like, mentally, like I corner people.
Yep.
Like I get all these facts lined up, and then I just kind of,
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, man.
Like, because I keep track of so many details, and then it's like they almost can't
Good luck
wait.
arguing against my sweet facts.
Exactly, and it's mean.
Yeah.
I know it's mean.
Yeah, it's bullying.
And
in
later,
a way.
you know, I would do this when we would argue, and it was almost like treating her like a child.
Yeah.
And so her recourse was, this guy's bullying me. I'm gonna smack him or something, right? Because she had trauma in her life from earlier, lots of trauma. So she ended up punching me really hard in the face when we were arguing, and I bleeding and whatever. And my instinct was, I have to call the cops because I'm gonna do something I'll regret, right? And I don't want to hit or do anything like that. So I called the cops on instinct, and the cops are coming, and I realized right away, like, and I tried to hang up the phone before anyone answered, and of course someone answered, but I didn't say anything.
Which means that they were on the way.
I went to clean up in the bathroom, and I got a knock on the door, because she had run out after I called the cops. She ran out of the house, ran down the road. And so anyway, I get a knock on the door of the house, and there's a cop, and he sees that I'm bloody, and, okay, come with us to the station to give statement. And I could see she was in another cop car. They had picked her up already. And they gave us, it was a 3-year peace bond where you're not allowed to speak to each other for 3 years. And now we've been together for almost 2 years at this point. And as I said, my whole life was wrapped up in her.
Yeah.
Like, imagine the most you could ever love someone potentially, but that person is bad for you, right? It's like the most toxic love on offer. I've barely been talking to my mother. I got rid of all my friends because they disapproved of what we were doing. It was kind of like, if you don't like this, then fuck off, right? This is what I'm doing. So, and now I'm living in her house, and I have no money because I've been paying all the bills. So I have no down payment for another house.
Yeah.
But when she comes back, I have to leave. So, shit out of luck. Like, that was the only time in my life I ever had to ask for help at work with money.
Yeah.
I had to get a pay advance.
Yeah.
And but when she hit me that day, and I called the cops, I had this, like, it was almost like a snap. I've always considered it like a pivotal moment in my life where everything kind of flashed between my eyes, or whatever the hell they say, where everything that I was doing up to that point kind of ended. And then everything I did next was almost a new person.
Yeah.
Because I really felt when I got into my new house, which I ended up buying, like I bought the house that I got in after that relationship. I think it was like a, I'm taking back my life kind of a thing.
Yeah.
When everything that happened after that moment was formative for me. And almost anyone that I was before that, I almost left behind in that house. But that was the hardest thing for me to do on my own, was getting out of that house and getting back on my feet. And then there were really hard events later in life that were easier to deal with because I had that experience.
Yeah.
Like when my father died, or when my son's mother died, and it was all just like, this moment is going to prepare you for what's coming next. If you believe in things happening for a reason, and I'm kind of on the fence about that, I only believe in that as a metaphor. Yeah. Like, if you stack these events on top of one another, it makes sense how I can easily walk away from things now.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
Because I could tell you multiple other stories like that, but... Yeah, in that moment when I called the cops, I realized that our relationship was over, and I never wanted it to be. But at the same time, what I learned later in life was that If it hadn't happened that way, it would have happened another way. Like her and I weren't going to be together.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter that that was the catalyst.
Yeah, yeah.
It was killing the inevitable, Like
Yep.
if we hadn't have gone that way, she would have left me, I would have left her. Something would have happened, but
Yep.
I wasn't ready. But then when would you be ready?
Yeah.
When are you ever ready to leave someone like that? It almost has to be taken away from you.
Well, I mean, like that type of thing is, it's going to be the same as like having to give up a drug.
It's like Gollum with the ring. Is
Yeah,
what I thought
yeah,
of
you're
it like,
precious,
right?
yeah.
My precious.
Yeah, because like it gives you, because like extreme situations give you different chemical rushes, right?
Yeah.
So if every interaction is extreme, you're constantly getting the most heightened chemical releases every single time.
Yeah.
And your brain gets used to that and it likes it, even though the feelings are horrible. But the chemical releases that you get from an extreme situation, that's like why we have adrenaline junkies. Like that's a thing.
Yeah.
Because an extreme argument, it gives you this significant situation that you have to deal with, and your brain gives you the respective chemicals with it, and you get real used to that.
Yeah.
And so, like, for you, you needed a catalyst to get out of it, because, like, that probably gave you a moment of clarity.
It wasn't immediate.
Okay.
So
yep.
what happened next was amazing. I went in every direction. Like I went on as much of a spirit journey as a 21-year-old white boy can go on, and that's looking at psychotropic drugs
Yeah.
and weird music and all hours of the night talking to weirdos online and going out randomly for long walks with strangers. Just all kinds of bizarre behavior. Going to
Yeah.
bars for the first time in my life. Start singing karaoke every Wednesday. Like my whole life kind of went in every direction, and it didn't get better for a long time either. Like
How long?
Until it resolved.
Yeah. Well, maybe not until it resolved, but till it started going on that.
To be
different
quite
path.
honest with you, I feel like I was making strides, but I was nowhere in the right direction for a long time. Like I ended up being with another girl, and it was like the same thing, but not as because I had this feeling like I would never match that relationship again, even if I didn't embrace it consciously. It was like I'll never have another relationship that good again. As crazy as that sounds, because as bad as that relationship was at the time, that had become my goal line for perfection. Like it was like the feelings you get with this can never be anywhere else. Like I can't get that with someone else. But I tried because I found a girl who was even more had even more trauma from her childhood and had even more problems. And we had another bad relationship. And that went on for a while. And then I ended up doing what I did with Sarah, my wife, with another girl. I thought, I'll go for something that's different than what I'm used to. And I ended up with another girl who was from Ontario. And we had another relationship, which is a whole other story. And that's a really interesting one that really did a lot to make me feel better about myself. But it wasn't until I ended up 3 years after the fact re-messaging the ex that hit me, and we had another relationship. I ended up, she was in BC and kind of had her life together in some way out there. And we ended up talking for 4 or 5 hours one night, and we basically started it up again. Like there was a lot to that, but 3 months after we started talking, she ended up coming here over on a bus with all of her shit packed up and ready to move in.
Yeah.
And I had some relationships, kind of like I had flirtations with a few different women, and all of those were done because it was like, here comes the main event.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like make way.
Yeah.
And I really feel like as bad as everything that happened in between that was, it needed to resolve in a different way for me because that chapter of my life wasn't satisfied. Like the way it ended didn't feel good to me. Like it was like, because neither of us left one another.
Yeah.
Right. So I needed
The law stepped in.
right. I needed some kind of conclusion.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like if I hadn't have eventually got that conclusion, then my mind would never be at ease about the
Just would
situation.
have had a what if always.
Oh yeah, and it was even to the point where, about 6 months after I was with Sarah, I got a text from her again. After it was almost a year after we split up the second time, and it was like a 3-paragraph text about how if I want to talk about how it ended the second time, she's always there. And I was like, this is an invitation to go again.
Yeah.
And now I've learned finally, right? And I said to her, we've spoken enough for a lifetime. Like, I wish you the best, but I'm not reopening this. I'm doing this now. We can't do this anymore,
See you later.
Right.
Or won't see you later, I guess.
Right. But I knew what that message was.
Yeah.
Like,
It was a snare.
It was, and she may not have even thought it was.
Yeah.
But like, I know us, right? I know who the two of us were. And so it was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't do this again. I need to be smarter than I was last time and realize that some people just can't work together.
Yeah.
Some people are just here to teach us lessons about who we should be and who we're going to be and kind of prepare us for what's next.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I mean, everybody's here for that, technically.
yeah.
Every experience is shaping you for the next day. You know what I mean? But quick question. You
Yeah.
were 21 when you met her.
No.
No?
No.
How old were you?
I was 14 when I met her.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the story of this girl is she was the cute girl that was a brat and kind of a bitch to everyone and in high school, and even a bitch to me, right?
Yeah.
But you kind of have a crush on that person, but you don't like it. Like, you're like,
Yeah.
fuck her, right? But
Yeah.
you're kind of into it too.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was kind of, I wouldn't say I was ugly as a teenager, but I don't think that I'm great looking now, but I'm thinner now and I'm in better shape than I was then when I met her later in life. So I looked better when she met me later in life than I did in high school. So there was a chance that she would be interested in me then where she wasn't when I was younger.
Yeah.
Because people are shallow, right? It's a thing. Some people are really shallow.
Yep.
But anyway, I had lost 90 pounds after my son's mother and I split up. And so I was brimming over with pride on that note. So I had that heightened confidence too, that I could get the girl that I couldn't get when I was younger.
Yeah.
So I had no shame in being a little more confident with her then.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I knew her when I was 14, and then we started talking again when I was 20, because she ended up living right next to me for some reason. So both of us were coming out of weird relationships that didn't work, and we ended up going for coffee back and forth and talking. And
Yeah.
it wasn't an innocent beginning, though, because part of my story with her is she was with a man when we got together.
Oh, yeah.
So I was that guy that...
You were the other man.
I was the other man, for sure, twice with her.
Yeah.
Because the second time we got together, I was too.
When she was in BC?
When she was in BC, she was with another guy. And it's the scummiest thing about me. But it wasn't because I've never done it with anyone else. It was always like this feeling that her and I were supposed to be together, and whoever the hell else
Therefore,
was there.
nothing else
and I would have
matters.
done the same thing if, and she even said it too. If you were with a girl when I was on my way here, you would have thrown her out of the bed, right? And you would have been with me. And I was like, yeah, probably. Like, it was that kind of a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's weird to say it, and it sounds terrible, but so I feel like some people are just like that.
Yeah. I mean, it would make and that's one of those things that we almost movies and stuff
Yeah.
honor that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As though there is this connection thing that makes it so everything else kind of has to move out of its way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so it makes sense that when you have something that you think is going to be that, you go about it and you're just like, yeah, this makes sense. It's almost justified, right?
Well, and I didn't care if it was.
No, of course
Like
not.
I
Yeah, the drive.
my first big relationship with my son's mother, I was the consummate good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like my son's mother had Crohn's.
Mm-hmm.
She was always sick, and everything was always about her.
Mm-hmm.
And nope, I'm not complaining, but
Yeah.
my whole life was you work and you take care of
Yeah.
these problems, right?
Yeah.
You do what you can for this person, and no one ever even asked me how I was feeling ever.
Yeah.
It was always, how is Shaylee doing today?
Yeah.
Like, and my whole life was like, if I could have one dream, it would be to get her into college and make her dreams come true. Like
Yeah.
my whole life was about that.
Yeah.
And she ended up leaving me after our son was born.
Mm-hmm.
Like she just, I think for her and I, we were so used to being stressed and like worrying about real problems that we stopped even talking about anything else.
Yeah.
Like we almost forgot who each other were.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? Like, and then you get to 4 or 5 years in, because we were together 4.5 years, from the time I was 16 till I was 20.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really know each other even.
Mm-hmm.
How do you spend that long living with someone and being with someone and you don't even know who they are really?
Yeah.
But that's what our situation was. So
Mm-hmm.
I felt when she left me, after I feel like I devoted my whole life to her, I felt very hurt and wronged, and even my whole family ended up being more there for her than me because she had my son,
Yeah.
and she was sick too.
Yeah.
So everyone was still taking care of her, and I was in the same apartment that her and I lived in, and she couldn't even get her stuff for quite a while. So we had this one room that was full of her belongings, and I was left in the apartment that we owned together or lived in together for a couple years after we split up. And all of her stuff is over here in this other room, and I even had her dog still. So yeah, now I've got. I'm living in the apartment we lived in for the last 2 years we were together, and she's gone, but all of her stuff is still in this other apartment room because she was living in her cousin's house, and I still got her dog too, so I'm still taking care of her little dog for the first 6 months. And I felt like abandoned and annoyed and hurt and all these different things, and so what I ended up doing, I think, for the next portion of my life was a lot more selfish. Like it was a lot more, this is my time now. Like I don't care about anyone else anymore.
Yeah. This is me time.
As I spent my whole life to that point caring about everyone else and what they wanted.
Yeah.
And look what it got me.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I had stopped caring about what I looked like completely too. Like I said, I was around 240 pounds at the time, and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea that how it happened or when it happened, but I noticed all at once that I was very unhappy with how I looked. It's like, how did this happen? This isn't me. So I ended up losing 90 pounds that year, right? And there was a lot of vanity there. Where it was like, I'm still young. I'm going to rebuild my life somehow, and it's going to be all about me now. So anyone that was in my way, I didn't give a shit. It was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
This is mine.
Yeah.
Like that's what my approach became to life. It was like almost like a Jekyll and Hyde switch where now I'm the bad guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the good guy got nothing done.
Yeah.
The good guy is fat and useless. That's what I looked at myself. Like everything I've been doing has been wrong.
Yeah.
So fuck that guy. Get rid of him. Throw him out of here.
Yeah.
Like don't need this anymore. Be this guy instead. And this guy's going to get shit done. This guy got a raise at work. This guy got the girl. This guy, killed off this person that I didn't think was that useful in my life,
Yeah.
This guy told his mom off because she had the wrong opinion of what he was going to do,
Yeah.
I was really getting high off of going against what I used to do.
Yeah.
And so I ended up meeting someone with a lot of damage, or being with someone with a lot of damage who was used to taking what she wanted too. But the problem with that was I was acting and this person kind of wasn't.
Yeah.
Like this was her, and here's me pretending.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So basically what ends up happening is you try and do the dance that this person is very proficient at, and they're better at it than you are, and you end up like kind of being like, "Oh, I was just playing." You,
I didn't know I was supposed to go pro.
right. And I think later in life, like I don't think it was about 20, probably about 2015, late 2015, after our second relationship dissolved, where I was left in the wreckage of this. I feel like it was about 5 6 year long saga because even though we were apart for 3 years,
Yeah.
I feel like
There's still question marks and
her
things.
and I took up this much time.
Yeah.
These 5 6 years, even though we were together for 3.5 years of it, and everything. Like I was with 2 other women in that time. That whole chunk of my life was dedicated to that story,
Yeah.
and it didn't resolve until the second time she left. She ended up leaving me eventually. I ended up pushing the issue of marriage a little bit, and came home from work one day and she was gone. All of her shit was gone. She had packed up and left. And I didn't get the answers to why until quite a bit after the fact.
Yeah.
But I remember talking to my mom about it. She's like, "Well, how do you feel? Like, I'm worried about you." And I was like, "How do I feel? I feel like a fool. You know, like I felt here. I got the girl not only once but twice. And lost her twice, right? And what do you realize in that moment is maybe it was never going to work, and maybe you shouldn't try again. Like maybe this is the closure you were looking for all those years, and
Yeah.
and maybe you just leave it at that, right? Where I go next is I felt like I was starting a new story kind of thing. Like I can finally move on. Obviously, in that moment, I was as low maybe for a week or two as I've ever been. But I bounced back quicker than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Like it was like, huh, I can actually breathe again now. Like it wasn't like the first time we split up. The first time we split up was months, years of like this cycle of chaos and this septic, like toxic, like you go out and drink one night, you're talking to random like it was just bizarre behavior. And I felt like I was going to go into that again, but I didn't. Like I was clear of that. It was almost like, huh, I can freely move on.
Yeah.
I still have these awful memories, but like it's not haunting my dreams anymore, which it was. I was almost scared to go to sleep some nights because I had such trauma from that sudden leaving, right?
Yeah.
That sudden forced ending
Yeah.
was like plaguing my dreams even. But I didn't have that the second time we split up, and that's where when I started dating again, I started meeting different people that were like her and kind of going into that trap for a second and then going, no, run away from that. That's not what you want. And then when I met Sarah, it was almost hard to start because it was so much different, right?
Yeah.
But it was the right thing to do. So, that's where I am today.
So how old were you when it finally ended?
So I was, what was it? Well, I think it was 27.
Do you think it had something to do with like that you were not in your early 20s anymore? You kind of can see life a little different?
I don't know if it was that because I see these idiots at work they're 20 years old and I'm like, Jesus, they're so stupid and they're so young. Like I don't know if I was ever that young.
We were.
But like when? Because like when I was 20, I already had a son.
Yeah.
And I was already with a sick girl, and I had, like I said, this adulterous relationship later, and I already had all these crazy life events. And like these guys at work, they're just like they're in their 20. It's like, was I that fucking way when I was that age?
I'm sure you were a version of it because I'm sure that like people that were our age now looking back at us when we were that young, we're like, man, these kids are so young. I'm sure that keeps happening.
I'm sure it does.
But I also wonder if it's like environmentally, it just seems more extreme to us because like technology and the change of culture has happened so fast that maybe that difference now is more extreme. Like I think if we were 25 looking at a 20-year-old, it would be more correct as to now all of a sudden if we're in our 30s or whatever and like looking back at a 20-year-old, it seems crazy how different they are.
Well, what I always found fascinating is when you'll meet someone who's like 45 and they act like a child,
Yeah.
and you're like, the clock just doesn't move for you. Right?
Well, there's
Like
some people that
you're
don't.
technically growing older,
Yeah.
but you have the emotional maturity of someone half your age still.
I also think that like groupthink is still of a child.
Yeah.
Like I think our baser emotional large scale moves that you see, like I think they're childish in nature. I don't
Oh,
think
yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily a negative thing, but I think that we revert to very basic stuff that we developed when we were kids, and I think that's when we have these, because it's like there's these big simplistic thoughts that would be more childlike. It would be the best way I can describe it.
Well-
Not like as a pejorative, but like, they're simple. It's a simple thought.
When I think about like groupthink, like it's for me it is really alien because most of my life I've been very solo. Like I've been a lone wolf a lot.
Yeah.
Even though I've been in relationships almost constantly, I've always been a homebody, and I'm not the guy who goes out and like gets a table of 10 somewhere or like goes out to a club and goes dancing, or like I don't really love big gatherings. So I've always been very solitary.
Yep.
And I actually really prefer days where I can just be alone.
Yeah.
Right? With my thoughts. Like a perfect day off for me is you're at home with the dogs getting some things done.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't like, oh, I'm going to go out to the bar and get slammed with like 18 people.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't have appeal to me. And then it just doesn't, like I get that it does for other people, but that seems like torture to me. Like if you give me the worst situation I could ask for, it looks a little like that.
Yeah. Believe they call it an introvert.
Yeah. But I can be, it's interesting because people think that I'm an extrovert.
Yeah.
Because like I can be really, really out there and charismatic, right? But
Yeah.
then I get really tired of it.
Yeah.
So what turn it off?
Well, I think like being an introvert or an extrovert, it's kind of like what recharges you. And I think for you, it's like the introvert recharges you. Because if that appeals to you as relaxing, then yeah, you're an introvert.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you can't be extroverted. It just means that the extrovert costs you energy, whereas introvert gives you energy.
But yeah, no, the people always think that, oh, how can you get through that tattoo or something, right? It's
Yeah.
so painful. And I'm like, this is not pain. Like none of this, whatever's going to happen later today is not pain. Okay? Pain is when someone leaves you and you don't know why.
Yeah, yeah.
When someone dies and you can't talk to them anymore.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I
pain.
mean? Like that's pain.
Yeah.
This is voluntary discomfort. It's like you signed up to get pummeled for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And that's all it is in the grand scheme, is a few minutes.
Yeah.
So, like, really have a hard time answering that question sometimes because it doesn't even seem to make sense to me because, like, whatever it feels like, I'm just going to do it. I had a comment from a guy the other day that I was one of my favorite comments ever. I swear. He goes, you know what I like about you? It's not the ugly black tattoos. It's not all the parenthood crap. It's none of your pictures with your wife. It's that no matter what the fucking tattoo is, you just go and do it. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it feels like. You just do it.
Yeah.
And this guy's been following
really
me for,
good
and he
thing.
doesn't like anything about me, but he likes
Just goes and does
the
it.
figure that this indomitable will that just gets it done no matter what. And even because I'll never tell you that I'm the toughest guy either.
Yeah.
It's like I've said, I feel the pain, right? And like you said, there's people you see that just don't seem to register it.
Yeah.
I do feel it. I just don't give a shit. It's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen no matter what.
Yeah.
It could feel like you lit my arm on fire. It's gonna happen because this is just work to do. It's got to be done. There's a job to do. You just do it. That's the way I approach it.
Well, I think more things could be approached like that, where it's like, well, it's going to start and it's going to end,
Yeah.
and that is the way that it is. And you can choose to fear that, or you can just choose to acknowledge it
Yeah.
and move on.
Right.
I mean, I think I have a hard time with that when it comes to tattooing. Like, I one of the main things that I liked about the way that we did, like, we're not finished this one, but when we started this sleeve, it was kind of like when we had a spare moment, we would just do something.
Sporadic.
Like an hour or an hour and a half or something like that. And for me, it was one of those, like, I never knew what was going to happen or when I was going to get tattooed. So for me, it was like I didn't have
You didn't
time
have
to
time to
stew over
stress,
it or
yeah.
anything like that. So it was just like, bam, let's do it this day. And I think that was beneficial because I didn't have time to work it up. But in that short time of like, oh crap, I'm gonna get tattooed right now, I would have this like fear and like almost a run from the pain kind of idea.
Yeah.
But I think the mentality would be wise to adopt of like, yeah, it's gonna suck maybe,
It's
but
just,
then it'll be done
I don't
and you'll
know
be
if
stoked.
it's like, because I preach this, but I really don't know if it's possible for everyone, because I just think that maybe there's something in me that doesn't work quite right. Right? Like, I think maybe I'm rationalizing something that's not good in a way. Like, I've always wondered if I've just made the best of my broken biology or my broken, like maybe I have some post traumatic stress that I can tap into,
Could be.
where it's it's become actionable,
Yeah.
right?
You've
and
put it to work.
and so maybe it's like this advice can't be taken on. Like, I don't know if it's because we can only really experience ourselves. Like, I can't tell what you're thinking right now, for example. Like, I can imagine. I can posit a guess
Yeah.
what you might be thinking or feeling. But like, we haven't had the same life build up.
Yeah.
Which means that me giving you that advice, hey, just channel dissociation. Well, maybe that's
Yeah.
not something that everyone can do.
Like part of me is always pulling on that point. The self-help guru, wise words, those kinds of things that I think a lot of people love to view, and they'll see it and they'll go, man, that's so powerful. But the application of those things, if you don't have the
yeah.
experience running into it, can be almost impossible.
Yeah.
So like, like I wonder how many people go to a Tony Robbins thing and are like, yeah, Tony Robbins, man, he just really said exactly what I'm hoping to be able to put into practice. And just like what you said there, like for me, I hear that and I go, damn, I need to do that when I get tattooed. I need to have that mentality because I have that in other areas. Like I have that exact mentality when it comes to gigging, like playing music and things like that. Because like every time I go to a gig, it doesn't matter what happens, the show will start and the show will end.
Yeah.
Because that is something I've recognized. Because I've gone into crazy situations and crazy gigs where things go wrong and everything goes awry, but it'll start and it'll finish, and hopefully you get paid. And that's one of those things that it was a constant for me in that regard. And so I empathize with what you're saying in terms of like, man, I get that because I can do that in that area.
Right.
But I can't do that in tattoos yet. I wish I could.
It's strange because I was doing it from the start with tattoos.
Yeah.
Like, almost the start. So I'll say from 2015 on with tattoos, there was never a time when I ever struggled with it. And I remember when I didn't have as much work as some guys, and I would feel like they were looking like, oh, well, you don't know what this, it's like, oh no, I'll get there. And then I'll be looking at you like that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because the way I was working almost backwards, like I'm catching up, right? But it didn't matter to me what it felt like ever. It was just, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do my nipple. We're going to do my armpit. We're going to do it. It's like, aren't you worried about that? No, I'm not worried about it. No, because it should have been done already. And I'm making up for lost time. And I don't care what it feels like. If you told me, okay, we're going to tattoo your armpit and it's going to just about kill you, but you're still going to live. Okay, that's good enough. Do it. Like, doesn't matter. Like, all of it, none of it mattered to me. It was just, let's get it done.
Yeah.
And that was before I had any experience. I was almost looking forward to knowing what it felt like.
Yeah.
I've known other people like this too. I have a kind of friend, Dragonheart, his YouTube, his Instagram handle. He's got a 30 millimeter septum. But anyway, he didn't have any tattoos until last year. And the first thing he did was he blacked out his nipples. And then he did like this giant black sleeve thing.
Yeah.
But he wanted to know what it felt like. He had no fear about not having tattoos.
Yeah.
It was just like, bring on the pain kind of thing, right? Like, this is just the next body mod. And I think that some people, they want the art where other people want the experience, right? And so when I started getting all those tattoos in 2015, I think I was already looking for an experiential thing.
Yeah.
But I just didn't again, it's not like I hate that I started with all the bread and the whatever sleeves that I had.
Yep.
But I didn't make the connection that it wasn't about the art until later.
Yeah.
Like I didn't figure. I thought I really wanted those things, but
Yep.
then what I was actually looking for was the trial of it, like the overcoming it and the getting through it
Yep.
aspect. I think was what I was always looking for, but I just didn't have that mindset yet.
Yep.
I don't know. It's weird.
No, it's not that weird. Like you know, you're moving towards something which with some goal that you think in mind, but there's something in it that speaks to you more, and sometimes that stuff takes a long time to realize.
Yeah, like
You know what I
you're
mean?
figuring it out as you go. Like where I would be in the middle of a really painful tattoo appointment, and I'm not thinking, oh God, this hurts. I'm thinking about what we're doing next week. I'm thinking about what I'm doing with Lee the following week. I'm thinking what I'm doing with this artist, and like I'm just almost planning it out in my mind. I'm not even worrying about, oh, this is gonna hurt, and I'm in too much pain to do it. And that's where I was saying I get frustrated with my body more than anything sometimes because my body can't do that, right?
No, yeah. There's a limit.
Like you can be mentally calloused, but your body it's still a human being.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that your brain is all beat up and scarred.
Yeah.
Your body isn't. So
Yeah.
it was always keep pace. Come on, keep pace. How come I can't be physically as scarred and dissociative as I am mentally? It was really frustrating.
Well, I mean, you know, our bodies can once your mind's writing checks, your body can't cash, kind of thing.
Yeah. Like if I feel like at some point it would have been proper for someone to cut me off, almost like an alcoholic, where it's like you're drinking at the bar and you've had 12 drinks and you're starting to piss yourself, and the waitress goes, "All right, Larry, it's time to
go
sober up.
home."
Like
Yeah.
you've had that. Fuck off! I want another drink.
Give me
Like, I got money. I had a house once. You know, just and it's clear as day that you're inebriated. And someone responsible has to step in to go,
Yeah.
you're done now. Like, and if you don't go, I'm going to throw you out, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I was at that level of tattooing for a while where it's like
Well, when you said you were doing like 2 or 3 a week,
sometimes 3 a
it's
week.
like,
Yeah.
whoa, man, that I don't think many people could handle that.
It didn't feel like enough. Like, I felt like I had more I wanted to get done. It's like, no, goddammit, more.
Yeah.
Let's do more. And then I'd be frustrated when I'd have a small session. Like, if I'd go in and get like a little piece done, it was like, no, fucking, I want more done. I want this done now.
Yeah.
I want it done now. And it's like, this is a game of patience, and I'm not being patient.
Well, and that's where, like, if you were approaching it at the point of, like, I wanted these pieces done rather than the experience of getting these pieces done,
Yeah.
I can understand the impatience. Because, like, that's one of the things that a lot of people struggle with in terms of, like, if you've got a large concept piece to do, you're going to have some time where you have just lines on you. You're going to
Yeah.
have some time where it's
Oh, yeah.
unfinished and incomplete looking, and you're going to have people come up to you and say, like, oh, is it done? And you're going to have all of that stuff because good things take time to build. But I understand it, too, where it's like, man, I just want it done.
Well, it's
Why can't we just do it now?
like people always say, oh, like my ink therapy, right?
Yep.
Like, oh, I go in for my tattoo therapy. Well, that was never more true than in my case. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm not saying I'm the only one who's been there, but it's never been more honest than with me, where it's especially coming out of that relationship in 2015, that second time,
Yep.
when I started really pushing hard. I was like healing.
Yeah.
Like healing deep damage
Yep.
and making up for the wasted years I spent in broken relationships. And I'm almost reclaiming myself, right?
Yeah.
Like this, I'm now going to focus on just me in the purest way. And doing that, it almost gave me a level of control,
Yep.
right? Like where I could see myself getting things done finally.
Yeah.
All these things that I've been putting on hold because I've been in these broken relationships that can't work, paying all these bills and for multiple partners that didn't work.
Yeah.
And now I have all my money to myself, and I'm doing the things I wanted to do years ago. And it was like I was taking myself back step by step.
You like in your previous relationships, there were these barriers to you looking after yourself,
Yeah.
right? Like, and looking after yourself, a lot of people think of that as just one layer deep, but it's the whole spectrum. Like, part of you doing tattoos is looking after yourself.
Yeah.
That's a part of it. A lot of people don't understand that, and that's fair. But for you, part of your looking after yourself and your care for yourself, they always talk about self-care and they always like value these things, but it's like, this is a part of it.
Yeah.
And you had all these barriers to you having to care for yourself.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, when those were taken away from you dramatically, then you get to start taking care of yourself and learn what that looks like.
And rather than taking that energy and sinking it back into another failing enterprise, another broken relationship,
Yeah.
I'm good on that now. I don't need to do that.
Dance, yeah.
Yeah, we know how that ends.
Yeah.
And it doesn't end well. So let's do this now instead, finally.
Yep. It's a better option, in my opinion.
And just week by week. And I think it was Lee that figured it out right away. I'm going to have this guy in more often.
Yep.
And I don't think it was because he wanted to line his pockets with gold either. I think
No.
he knew what was happening with me.
Yeah.
Because we would talk, and there was like this weird bond there where he kind of knew the trauma that was happening, and he was like, okay, this guy's now a regular with me. Get him in whenever we can.
Yeah.
you know? And there was even the one day when my son's mother died, and Lee and I had known each other for about a year, and it was, I got to get you in right away.
Yeah.
We got to, and because he already knew what tattooing was for me. It was healing, right?
Yeah.
So he brought me in like the next morning, like before his work day, and we did a memorial tattoo. I still actually have it, but yeah, it was like this instant recognition of the process that was going on.
Yeah.
And so people have asked me actually, what is it like for the artists that are blacking out old pieces on you? Do they get upset? I was like, no, two of the artists that have blacked out stuff on me have done some of the original work that they're blacking out.
Yeah, legit.
And they're either indifferent or completely understand.
Yeah.
Like in Lee's case, it was like, no, this makes sense. Right? Like it made perfect sense to him.
Yeah.
And Rick just seems to be indifferent. You know what I mean?
Bit,
like,
yeah.
But people always expect that they would be angry about it or something. Like, oh, how could you do this to my old work?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's a couple of people that would probably be pretty choked, yeah.
There are. But they were choked anyway.
Yeah, that's fair.
So some people are just going to be angry no matter what you do.
Yeah.
And you can't lose sleep over that.
No, it's your body, man. You can do whatever you want with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're not... If the minute you start worrying too much about what other people think of what you're doing, you'll stop doing anything you want to do.
That's
and
fair.
You'll just be living someone else's life, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, maybe in many ways you were doing that.
I think it was for a long time. It was like, it's easier to focus your energy into other people that have lots of problems than it is to fix your own.
Oh, man, so much easier.
And I also felt, for me, like, my life was never amazing. Like, and it was never amazingly bad either. Like, it was always kind of like, it kind of sucked here. There was this shitty thing that happened, but this good thing happened. And it was a lot of like, I never really had like, so I was surrounding myself with people who had just absolutely awful lives.
Yeah.
So you would end up, I feel bad for this person.
Yeah.
They had a worse life than me. You would do that, a lot of that kind of thing, right? A lot of pity without thinking you were pitying them. It was like, I have to really care for this person because they had it worse for me.
Yeah.
I don't think my life had that dramatic awful until much later. So, like when my father died and different things, I finally kind of felt, okay, my life hasn't been great either. Like, and then maybe I don't need to look for people with worse lives than me and whatever I need to fix my own shit.
Yeah.
I don't need to worry about fixing other people. I need to fix my own shit.
Yeah.
Because it's piling up, and pretty soon I won't be able to breathe in here. Right? If I get any more baggage in this closet, it's going to be spilling out into the living room, you know?
You're hoarding baggage?
I don't need more fucking baggage. I need to put this shit back together.
Yeah.
Like,
I need some shelving.
yeah, you sort through your own shit because everybody's got shit to deal with. And I think the older we get, the more likely the older our partners are going to be too, and the more shit they've got.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's really hard for people when they're in their 40s and stuff to get into new relationships because
Yeah.
there's so many broken, failed things
Yeah,
that
of
have
course.
happened.
Well, and you can take those things and grow and learn and become, a more refined person, or
Yeah.
you can numb out from those things and ignore them further and make it them worse, and then keep pouring yourself into other situations. Like those choices are all on us
It's
to
funny.
decide what to do with those situations, right?
Like I said to my coworker when I started dating Sarah, I was like, I've said this before, but if it doesn't work this time, I'm fucking done. Like, I'm done. I'll
Yeah.
quit the kingdom of women forever, right? Just, I won't touch it. I won't go near it. I'll just be celibate,
Yeah.
right? I'll become
I'll
a
be a
fucking
monk.
monk, right? Because I've done enough damage by
Yeah.
this point. Like I said, engaged 4 times,
Yeah.
right? One of the women I was with twice and made all kinds of fucking messes with.
Yeah.
Like I said, 2 times she was with someone else when she got together with me, right?
Yeah.
Like, how much more damage should I do?
Yeah.
Like, I've done enough. And I was like, realistically, I could stop now, and I've had enough love stories for a lifetime.
Yeah.
So, as true as I could be about it, that was the last time for me. As far as I knew, I was like, if it doesn't work with Sarah, I'm out. I'm out. Like, I'll wait until they make robotic women, and you know what I mean? Like,
Move on from there.
and I won't have these relationships anymore because I can't fucking do them.
Yeah.
I can't put these pieces together. I just, something about me doesn't mix well with something about them, you know?
Well, I'm
But-
sure a lot of people feel that way.
Right. Oh, I'm
Cause,
sure.
Because I mean, if you can't find someone that can be your balance, and like everything else seems impossible, right? Because like until you find that person, nothing else is that,
Yeah.
right? And not even that it has to be one person, but just that balance that's that you can respect each other and encourage each other without sacrificing yourself.
Yeah.
And but if you don't have that, it's not that, so it seems like that can't exist. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So I that some people don't find that. Some people will traverse different relationships, and maybe it's themselves, maybe it's the others. It's probably a pairing of both. But it's like I can understand that, where it's like, man, what the fuck is this always going to be like this?
Yeah.
Or but you found someone that
Well, yeah.
can balance.
And it was hard. Like people have asked me before, so how are things with you and Sarah? Like my mom will ask every now and then because she knows what my track record has been like, and she probably worries for my son too because, my son's quite a bit older now and he gets really attached to people anyway. But I'm like, the hardest thing about our relationship is that it's too good or that it's too boring sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
too easy.
you don't have those crazy spikes.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes the hardest thing because I'm so used to chaos that it's hard to be normal.
I get it.
It's a really weird thing to say. Like you'd think, oh, that's got to be the best thing. But
No.
for someone who's been hooked on crazy ups and downs,
Yeah.
normal is hard to take sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's understandable that we look for extremes. And then like that's what I mean. Like nobody remembers the mediocre.
Yeah.
Because it's just one of those like those are good, but we're looking for extreme or
Yeah.
extreme, and I don't
You
know.
can't live there though.
No, it's
You
exhausting.
have to live here and
Yeah.
visit.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So
It's the healthy balance,
yeah. So
hopefully.
I think a lot of the times these people that we think are, too good to be true, well, they are, right? Like those relationships they're just here for a minute.
Yeah,
And
they're mythical.
And you probably learn something and move on.
Yep.
I think that's all you can get from that.
Yeah, fair enough.